I was barely 7 when it happened. Why would a young boy do that to me? His actions left a mark. Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I Better You with Real Shelf with Tea, where we get to listen and learn from real life experiences, share Bible scriptures, encourage ourselves, discuss personal development, and have real talks to help you become the best version of yourself. Today's story is deeply personal and difficult to share, but I believe it's important for healing and to help others who may have experienced similar trauma. It was a sunny afternoon at school, the kind of day that should have been filled with innocent childhood memories. I had just finished speaking with my sister during our break time. She was a class ahead of me, and we had been discussing something trivial, the way siblings do. After our conversation, she walked me back to my classroom, making sure I was settled before returning to her own class. Little did we know that this simple act of sisterly care would soon be disrupted by an event that would change both our lives forever. The boy was in my class, someone I saw every day, someone who should have been a friend or at least a harmless classmate. But how can a young boy conceive such a heartless idea? What darkness must have been growing in his mind to plan what he was about to do? These questions would torment me for years, trying to understand how evil could manifest in someone so young. His plan was calculated and cruel. He deliberately picked a fight with my sister, knowing exactly what he was doing. During the altercation, he struck her in the mouth, causing her to bleed profusely. The sight of blood streaming from my sister's mouth was horrifying, and the entire school erupted in chaos. Teachers rushed to help her, and she was immediately taken to the hospital for treatment. The boy was punished for his actions, but what no one realized at the time was that this violent act was just a distraction, a carefully orchestrated part of his larger, more sinister plan. While my sister was receiving medical attention and dealing with the consequences of his attack, I was left vulnerable and alone. During the second break, when she would normally come to check on me as she always did, she was still in pain and unable to leave her treatment. That was exactly what he had been waiting for. That was when his real plan unfolded. He approached me with a calmness that now seems terrifying in retrospect. Without my sister's protective presence, I was an easy target. He convinced me to follow him, and in my innocence, I had no reason to suspect his intentions. He led me to an uncompleted building at the back of our school, a place that was isolated and hidden from the main school activities. It was the perfect location for someone with malicious intent. Once we were alone in that desolate place, his true nature emerged. He began pulling at my dress, trying to remove my clothing. I struggled against him with all the strength my small, 7-year-old body could muster. But what could a girl who was barely 7 do against someone determined to harm her? I had no idea what he was trying to accomplish, but every instinct in my body told me it was wrong. I watched in confusion and terror as he began pulling at his own clothing as well, his actions becoming more frantic and desperate. The fear was overwhelming. He covered my mouth to prevent me from screaming, his hand pressing against my face as I tried to breathe, tried to call for help, tried to make sense of what was happening to me. In that moment, I felt completely powerless, completely alone, and completely terrified. The innocence of childhood was being stripped away from me in the most violent and traumatic way possible. But God had other plans. In what I can only describe as divine intervention, a teacher happened to be passing by the area. The sound of approaching footsteps caused the boy to panic. He heard the teacher getting closer and closer, and in his desperation to avoid being caught, he abandoned his assault and fled. When the teacher appeared and saw him running away, he jumped over the school fence and disappeared. That was the last time I saw or heard of him, but the damage had already been done. The teacher who found me was in complete shock. She quickly helped me get dressed and took me directly to the principal's office. I was asked numerous questions, but I was too young and too traumatized to fully understand what had happened to me. I had some idea of what he had tried to do, but I lacked the vocabulary and understanding to properly explain the gravity of the situation. The school authorities conducted a medical examination and discovered that it had been a very close call. The principal was faced with the difficult task of explaining to my father what had occurred when he came to pick me up from school. 2 incidents in one day involving both his daughters must have been devastating news to receive. When closing time arrived, my father was called into the principal's office. The principal carefully narrated all that had happened throughout the day, starting with my sister's assault and then moving on to my own traumatic experience. My father's reaction was immediate and intense. He was furious beyond words, his protective instincts as a father fully activated. He demanded that the boys' parents be brought to school the next day, and if they refused to appear, he threatened to withdraw both his daughters from the school immediately. The principal pleaded with my father to remain calm and assured him that precautions were being taken to ensure such incidents would never happen again. But how do you calm a father who has just learned that both his daughters were attacked on the same day? How do you restore trust in a system that had failed to protect innocent children? The next day, the boys' parents came to the school. They begged for forgiveness and apologized profusely for their son's actions. But apologies couldn't undo what had been done. The day he jumped over that fence was indeed the last day I saw him, but the memories of that traumatic experience continued to live on in my mind and heart. It was a terrible experience that no young girl should ever have to endure. At barely 7 years old, I had encountered attempted rape, a crime that should be completely foreign to the world of childhood. The innocence that should have been protected was shattered in those terrifying moments in that uncompleted building. This experience brings to mind Proverbs 22:6, which tells us to train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old he will not depart from it. This scripture speaks to the fundamental importance of proper child rearing and moral guidance. It was obvious that this boy was going through something significant in his own life. Children don't naturally develop such violent and sexual behaviors without external influences. The question that haunted me for years was, where did this darkness come from? It could have been from his parents, from friends, from content he had accessed online, or from other traumatic experiences in his own life. These behaviors don't just happen in isolation. He wanted to act out what he had seen or experienced somewhere else. His actions were likely the result of multiple factors that we may never fully understand. This incident taught me several important lessons that I want to share with you today. First, the importance of protecting our children and being vigilant about their safety. We must create environments where children feel safe to report uncomfortable situations and where adults are present and alert to potential dangers. Second, this experience highlighted the critical need for proper education about body safety and appropriate boundaries. Children need to understand what is appropriate and inappropriate behavior, and they need to know that they have the right to say no and to seek help when they feel unsafe. Third, this incident underscored the importance of addressing behavioral problems in children early and comprehensively. When we see concerning behaviors in young people, we must investigate the root causes and provide appropriate intervention and support. The trauma of this experience stayed with me for many years. It affected my ability to trust, my sense of safety, and my understanding of the world around me. But through God's grace, support from family, and eventually professional help, I was able to process this trauma and find healing. I want to emphasize that healing is possible, even from the most traumatic experiences. If you or someone you know has experienced similar trauma, please know that you are not alone and that there is hope for recovery. Seek support from trusted adults, consider professional counseling, and remember that what happened to you was not your fault. For parents and caregivers watching this, I encourage you to have open conversations with your children about body safety, to create environments where children feel comfortable reporting concerning situations, and to be vigilant about the people and influences in your children's lives. As we conclude today's episode, I want to thank you for joining me on A Better You with Real Shelf with T. Sharing this story wasn't easy, but I believe that by speaking our truth and sharing our experiences, we can help others heal and prevent similar tragedies from occurring. Remember, you are stronger than you know, and with God's help, you can overcome any challenge that comes your way. If this video has helped you in any way, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more real-life stories, biblical encouragement, and personal development content. Share this video with someone who might need to hear this message, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Together, we can build a community of support, healing, and growth. Until next time, keep striving to become the best version of yourself. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video.